How's it going, Andrew?
What's going on? Welcome to episode 2, my man.
Woohoo! More interviews. I love doing this. I think it was made even better by the fact that I feel like it's been a minute since we had a guest on the show. So now to have a lot of guests is just great.
Had to get back in the swing of interviewing people again. But it's been
Right,
fun.
for
And,
sure.
last night at hospitality, hanging out, I knew a lot of people. I was talking to a lot of people about coming on. So I'm sure we'll have a bunch of guests. And, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And we've had some valuable conversations about future guests on the podcast. So, it's been really good up here this year.
Yeah, and I've been slipping our business card in everyone's pocket as they walk by, like a sneaky boy, so they'll find it.
We have given out quite a few business cards, so hopefully we have a lot of new people that join us for fellowship.
Yep. Anyways, speaking of fellowship, we probably should get to it. I'll hit the music.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
All right, so it's Saturday morning at AC. Andrew and I are probably operating on about 3 or less hours of sleep, and but we have our first guest with us this morning. Brother, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Brother Steve Mullins, and I'm a part of Daylight Lodge 358, right in Milwaukee of III Shrine.
Right
It's the reason why I joined Freemasonry was since I was a little kid, I really admired the III Shriners.
Okay.
I became a Mason through my older brother, who was a member of Daylight Lodge. So we both went through the same lodge together.
Right.
And right after I'd been in the chair of line or the line of chairs for a while, I joined the award-winning Pirates of III Shrine.
Hey, there we go. A fellow pirate. Yeah, we do enjoy our pirate unit. How long have you been a Master Mason now, Steve?
About 4 years.
4 years. Right on. What kept you coming back?
It was a lot of the fellowship. It was a lot of the brothers that I got to talk to. I know that the captain is with us right now, so
I happened to slip in, Kirk Campagna, just happened to slip in here because someone needed a break for a moment. So I do know Steve pretty well. I have a question for Steve, if I may ask.
Yeah, go for it.
So you talk about daylight. Explain to everyone what daylight and how unique it is. What is it that daylight does, and how is it unique that makes it so successful? Because you guys are doing a great job.
For a majority of the lodges that are in my district, they meet at about 6, 7 o'clock at night. Daylight is more for the third shifters and people that wouldn't feel comfortable driving at night. As to going with, they have problems driving at night, but our membership is actually very high for Wisconsin because it's a lot of retirees and it's a lot of other members who still want to have that fellowship and lodge.
Right, and you can tap into second and third shifters and guys that maybe have, different work schedules, rotating schedules, stuff like that. And the retirees, it gives them something to do during the day. You guys do a nice lunch afterwards. Daylight's always a joy to visit. It's always my hardest one to visit, though, because not being a second or third shifter, it makes it really hard to get over there.
It is.
But now you mentioned that in Wisconsin, so there's other daylight lodges in other states, you're saying?
There's actually other daylight lodges in the States. Where the Daylight Lodge that I'm a part of is Daylight Lodge number 358. There is one in Green Bay called New Daylight, which is Lodge number 360. So it's a New Daylight, or I'm part of the original Daylight in Milwaukee, and then there's one also in Green Bay as well.
So there's really, for any lifestyle that you have,
right,
Masonry, you can find a way of actually joining and participating. It's not just a night thing. If you do have a third shift, you can still be a Mason, which is an awesome idea.
Right. No, I love the idea of a Daylight Lodge. I think it really taps into the a different segment of the population that we need to be accessing. So, and you guys do great work over there.
There's a lot of charity work that happens. We're actually donating to Trish's Troops, which is over by the old Smiley Barn in Wisconsin.
The Smiley Barn.
Barn.
We all know,
right?
In Wisconsin, what do? We come by and we go, hey, next to that big old barn with the face on it, you make a right, and then you go up to that tree. You know the tree? Yeah, you make a left on that tree. Yeah. Welcome to Wisconsin.
But it actually gives it also gives the benefits to which is Trish's Troops, which is a veterans relief program who have cancer. So they have like a wig shop, and they have like different types of blankets. So we're getting procedures, and it's a very good foundation. So
That's
awesome.
Cool. That's
awesome.
really neat.
Well, we won't keep you too long, Steve. We're going to try to put some other people on the microphone as the morning goes on. Thanks for stopping on. Really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to see you, Matt.
Steve the Pirate. Steve the Pirate. I love you, brother.
All right, we got a special guest coming on. Brother, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about what brought you into Masonry?
Sure. My name is Ryan Mayrand. I'm a member of McKinley Lodge 307 in Brookfield, and newly installed as the Junior Grand Steward
Congratulations.
yesterday, and then on to Senior this year.
Yep, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So what originally got you into Masonry?
So I originally got into Masonry through DeMolay.
Okay.
So there was a brother Mason who was down at Racine Bell City Lodge, and he went to my church, introduced me to DeMolay, and a lot of the Masons that served as advisors for the chapter at that time were role models during kind of that formative age in my teens.
Yep, so then you didn't get tired of doing ritual there and decided you want to do ritual somewhere else.
I love ritual.
Yep.
So did ritual competitions and very much have made that an important part. It's what distinguishes us, right, from the Moose, the Elk, and other organizations.
Well, and most of those organizations had ritual because they copied us, and then they lost it along the way. And I feel like since we withheld and kept it, it still kept us unique and gave us that edge that we've always had, too.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been a Mason?
This is my 26th year.
Holy moly.
So I've had the opportunity to be master a couple times of my lodge, served as, at the time, an area administrator, now a district rep. Have been DD here in District 7 the last 3 years, and been honored to serve anywhere where I can provide value. It's kind of been my...
So 26 years, what kept you, once you joined, what kept you coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly when I was still living in the Milwaukee area, the brethren at McKinley was a great group of guys. Really enjoyed the fellowship, again, the ritual. And as I moved out to the Madison area in 2017, got involved with the membership committee, and just there's a lot of exciting things going on. We're seeing a huge rebirth in terms of the numbers of guys that are, raising their hand, reaching out online, or stopping and knocking at the door of our lodges, because I think we have something special people want to be part of.
Well, and you could even see that yesterday when we were seeing the award for the lodges that didn't have decreased membership. They had increased membership. What was that called?
Yeah, it was like a net gain.
Yeah, the net gain award. The sheer number of lodges that were on the floor, they were filling the whole stage.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
people are interested in Masonry. People want to know what's going on.
Yep.
And it's kind of a very, I've only been a Mason for, I guess, 6-ish years.
Right.
But, to come in when... right as I would say Masonry's having a renaissance, especially at least in Wisconsin. Yeah. With all these members coming in, and they're all younger. I was the youngest man joining my lodge, and I am no longer.
Sure.
Coming in, I think I was 28. Now there's 25-year-olds, 24-year-olds, and I'm like, how did I become?
Sure.
No longer the table steward or whatever. Yeah.
And that's a common, thing that we're hearing on the membership committee. I think part of it is... it took in the past, you had to know a Mason, right? You had to ask. That's always been, the adage, the approach that we take. We don't solicit for membership. And if you didn't know a Mason, how were you going to ask? And so a lot of the efforts from the membership committee have really been aimed at making it more available, right? So the advertising that we're doing. So just creating awareness. We've had, some people who raise an eyebrow and say, oh, well, you're soliciting membership, and not at all. is very much focused on creating awareness. Our membership practices have not changed one bit. You still have to ask to get a petition. You still have to go through all those steps. But essentially, we've provided what used to be limited to knocking on a physical door of a lodge to meet somebody and learn. You now have the ability to knock on a virtual door. So you see our ads, you click on a link, you go to the Grand Lodge website, fill out an interest form, and that's where the district membership reps, kind of that whole structure that has been put in place, comes in. And so those district membership reps vet out, these leads, and they've caught a lot of, felons or atheists or other guys that just wouldn't be applicable. And not to say that they're necessarily bad people.
But they're not necessarily maybe what we'd be looking for.
Correct.
Or be a good fit for a lodge.
And so the service that they provide is they're weeding out a lot of that.
Which saves brothers a lot of work having to, they still have to do their own investigating, but it at least makes it easier that you don't have to put the onus on a lodge. You might not have the same tools to go, is this guy a good guy? I have limited time and I'll do my best, you know?
And we're, doing CCAP, so looking at, their criminal record if applicable, and just getting to understand, what's their motivation? Why are they interested? And we've had an opportunity to kind of weed out some folks that also weren't motivated by the right reasons. So some of the conspiracy theorists and such.
I want to find a good network that I can make some money off of, and you're like, I think you're in it for the wrong reasons, my man, I'm sorry.
Yep. So I give the district membership representatives a ton of credit. It's not a role where they get, an apron or a collar or reimbursement or anything. They're just spending their time following up with these leads. And for some of the, districts that get a lot of leads, they spend a significant amount of time.
Oh, I believe it.
And so they're unsung heroes in my book.
Well, and even on the smaller level, like my lodge Facebook page gets a lot of traffic from people interested. And that's such a minute, tiny slice compared to what a district membership rep would deal with. And even that is cumbersome, the sheer amount of people that I have who are from different countries being like, I want to get in. And I'm like, bro, you need to go to this website. It's nothing to do with me. I'm sorry. And then they're like, how I fill out the page. I'm like, I'm not. Go figure it out with that lodge.
I also manage the Grand Lodge's Facebook account. And so, just even this morning, you get, kind of either the conspiracy theorists, the folks that...
Dahlia salesman.
There's that. But just a ton of different folks who just don't know, right? And I try to approach it as... It's not that they're, being malicious. It's not that it's just that they don't know. So they've maybe received or have consumed some misinformation. And so, the ads that we're doing on Facebook, even if it's, somebody who's not ever going to be eligible, if it's, someone's female, atheist, etc., a felon, I'd rather have them, view information from us that is going to be factual and true. And if that can dispel some of those myths, I think that's a win, right?
So clicking the link that says, they're lizard people, you're like, just, here's what we are. Go look at what we are, so at least we can have a conversation. Because if we can't meet on the base level of fact, it's just confusing. You can't have a conversation.
So part of it is, dispelling the myths. Part of it is, we want to try and create awareness. And hopefully if there are guys that are, a good fit for the craft, let's, have them knock on that virtual door or the physical door. But it's providing them that additional path in.
What's interesting? So my family brother, when he saw an ad finally on Facebook, and he's like, I thought you guys don't recruit. And I go, that's not recruiting though. And he's like, what's the difference? And I go, would you consider you watching an ad on TV the same as someone knocking on your door and trying to sell you something? And I go, I think we can tell the difference between being visible. So, especially the stuff we've been doing with signage and stuff, it's like people don't know how to knock if they don't even know where you are or that you're still here. If they're like, I'd like to join Masonry, but I don't think they still exist, and there's a lodge 3 blocks from their house that's just not very well marked. How would they know?
Right.
And so there's a difference between saying you're soliciting and just being like, you're just visible. So if someone is interested, they know how to find out about how to get more information.
None of the ads, say you should join, right? You won't find those words in the ads. What we do have in the ads is, brothers talking about this is what Freemasonry, is about.
This is what I like
about it. This is my
it.
experience. These are the benefits that I've, seen in my own life. Or, we recently put out a video that had some wives of brothers talking about the difference, the changes that they've seen in their husbands.
Yep.
So I think from that perspective, again, our membership practices have not changed other than this creating awareness.
Yep.
And it was, I think, the missing link. Because we have seen, it is, certainly factually true that we have seen a boost in the number of guys that have been coming to lodges as a result of this. Mm-hmm. Indisputable, factual numbers to back
every
that
lodge
up.
can feel it too.
Yep.
There are lodges that that I've talked to that hadn't seen a new member and they forgot how to even do the ritual. They're like, it's been 10 years, and suddenly they have people knocking on the door like, uh-oh, hold on.
Yep.
Boys, we gotta get back to work. Yep.
And the biggest opportunity, I think, that exists with this, the gap that we still need to work on, is there's lodges out there that don't have a lodge membership representative. Mm-hmm. And so when Grand Lodge and the district membership reps, have talked to somebody, you got to strike while the iron's hot. Yep. Right? So these guys have expressed an interest. They knocked on that virtual door. District membership rep has successfully made contact with them.
Yep.
And you got a guy who is waiting for that call back now from a lodge that lead has been handed off to. We cannot afford as a fraternity to allow that guy to just wither on the vine.
Yep.
Right? And so lodges need to have a lodge membership representative, some guy who is passionate about membership, doesn't need to be a past master, doesn't need to be, even super knowledgeable about the craft, but needs to be that forward face for the lodge who can invite that guy to, whatever your next social event is and answer some questions, introduce him to some of the other brothers, because it's kind of like a job interview too, right? So you want to fit both ways.
Yep.
Right? It's not just, are you, worthy to be a Mason? It is, for him, is this right for me? And when you get to fit both ways.
How many times have I said that, Andrew? It's a two-way interview when you get a new guy. Like, not only are you good for the fraternity, but is our lodge right for you, or should we direct you to a different lodge that has slightly different culture?
We had a brother call it courting, that we're courting one another.
Right.
To see if you want to build a relationship together.
100%.
Back to it doesn't have to be a past master for like a lodge membership rep. I would 100% agree to the point of sometimes I think it's better if it's a newer guy who still has the enthusiasm, the passion, and the energy, and is like really like Johnny on the spot with it, and is fired up about Freemasonry, and hasn't done 7 years in the officer line, and is like, I need to breathe for a minute, right?
Yeah. And I mean, how relatable is that when it's, a new guy who remembers back like, months ago or a couple years ago, I was in your shoes. And so to be able to kind of recall some of those things, I think for somebody who's coming in and doesn't understand any of the jargon, who doesn't, kind of know the organization, I think that can be, perhaps more approachable.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would agree.
We ended up putting that on as a standard role for our senior deacon.
No, junior deacon.
Junior deacon, yep. To be like, because usually in that position, it's a younger officer who has just enough experience to be comfortable doing a tour and answering questions, but still has the bandwidth to take it on, and we gave him a generic email so that the district membership reps don't have to keep figuring out who the heck to send the leads to. It's like, this inbox will be passed on to the next deacon, and then you'll have an opportunity to build out your skill set for talking about Masonry. But like you said, it's just make sure you assign someone. And there's nothing that feels worse than when I read on Reddit or somewhere, I've been waiting 6 months and no one's getting back to me. Yeah. You guys told me to knock on the door. I'm knocking. Where are they? And you're like, it's a too common story.
Yep.
And so, it's very important.
And I do see, in answering or responding to comments to the Grand Lodge Facebook page, every now and again we'll get folks who, are reaching out and they say, I filled out a form a couple weeks ago and I haven't heard from anybody.
Right.
And so we follow up on that right away, at least on the, Grand Lodge level. But that is becoming less and less frequent, thankfully.
Yep. Right.
So.
Right. At the end of the day, we are still a volunteer organization, right? So it's not like somebody's spending 40 hours a week monitoring these leads as they're coming in and kicking them out. So a week or two of a delay that's not unreasonable, right?
Yeah.
So.
But months is a problem. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I would argue anything over 2 weeks is a problem.
And the faster the better in general, but
Right.
Yeah, we try to say, 48 hours. Once a lead has been handed off, ideally within 48 hours, because that's peak interest, right? The guy took the time to fill out the form.
Yeah.
The DMR followed back up with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Once it hits the lodge level, 48 hours for sure. But like with the sheer number of those forms that are getting filled out on the Grand Lodge website, the trickle down takes a minute.
Yeah.
The filtration system.
Right.
And I will give a shout out. I mean, D11, D12, obviously being, in the Milwaukee area where it's a peak, center of population. You guys get the majority, compared to other districts. Those are high volume. And I will say the DMRs in those two districts have done just a spectacular job in terms of following up within a reasonable amount of time.
Yep.
So, for a volunteer organization, and that is a thankless job.
Oh, right, for sure. 100%.
Following up. But they walk away with just, knowing inside I helped.
Right.
Yep, 100%.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, you probably got to get in there pretty quick here, looking at the time. But thank you for coming on and joining us for a couple minutes for an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
You too.
Hi, listeners. I'm Brother Samuel.
I'm Brother Gabriel.
And I'm Brother Ryan. And we're the hosts from the Third Degree Masonic Podcast. We hope you're enjoying Time for Fellowship as much as we are. If you're looking for further knowledge on Masonic topics, then check us out on the same platforms as Time for Fellowship. And remember, craftsmen,
keep your working tools in order.
And always be on the level.
Now, let's get back to Time for Fellowship.
All right, we got a very special guest coming on with us right now. Brother, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what got you into Masonry.
Sure. My name is Jeremy Koss. I'm past master of Freemasons Lodge 363 and twice master of Daylight Lodge. I joined Masonry about 13 years ago with my brother-in-law, who his sister and happens to be my wife. Their grandmother was worthy matron of the Eastern Star, and his parents never got into it, but we kind of proceeded from there and joined Masonry together and went through the ranks of Freemasons Lodge, and it's kind of where I'm at right now. So,
who's your brother-in-law?
Doug Brown. He passed away a couple of years ago now.
Sorry.
So my partner in crime is now my wife on all these adventures. So
okay.
I haven't latched on to a new brother to be my my cohort or whatever you want to call it.
Your right-hand man.
My right-hand man, yeah. So
right on. So after you joined, what kept you coming back? What was it about the craft that you were like, yes?
I think it was the degree work. Freemasons Lodge was heavily involved with degrees when I joined, and I mean, it seemed like we were doing 2-3 EAs, FCs, MMs every month. I mean, it was just like crazy how many people were coming through that lodge.
Yeah.
And it gave me an opportunity to learn the degree work, be part of the degree work, and have fun with the degree work. Because if you're not having fun when you're doing degrees, it's like, why are we doing this? Right. So, and the best part of it is the practices, right? So that's when you get to goof around with the brothers and tease them for missing their lines or dropping their lines or turning at the wrong time or spinning the candidate the wrong direction or doing something like that. Right. So, but I mean, that's the camaraderie in Scottish Rite for me as well. I love the degree work, love dressing up like an idiot. My wife goes, what are you wearing? And I'm like,
I'm a soldier.
They just told me to put this stuff on, and I didn't even look in a mirror. So
that's how I felt at Shrine ceremonial, at the joint ceremonial, because I was first ceremonial master. I'm like, what am I wearing right now?
In the York Rite chapter, the Valesmen wear costumes, and all I ever think when I'm in there is, why am I so hot right now? And I'm melting.
I remember I was captain of the guard for the Scottish Rite degree, and I'm standing in back with Pat Cholka, and he's the high priest at the time, and I got this. I swear they got it off the top of an old boat, and it was supposed to be this chainmail armor, this like plastic covering, and I took off the chainmail, and Pat says to me, "My God, your body's glowing red right now." I'm thinking I'm having some sort of allergic reaction.
Degree work can be hard when your body's really like
so hot.
Yeah, some of those costumes get pretty heavy duty and hot really fast, especially when you have to have multiple layers because you have to cover up all the like clasps and everything on the first layer, so then you need to throw something over that yet.
And usually I have a suit still underneath it because I had to be in a suit for dinner, and I'm like, what?
So that was the nice thing about Shrine Ceremonial is I was in shorts and a T-shirt underneath my costume.
I'm so jealous.
And then I went back to the room and changed.
There were days like that when I first joined Scottish Rite, when we still had the building downtown. We had this just enormous dressing room, and you had all these costumes, and you'd actually change, and you'd be wearing, basically, like you said, shorts underneath it, which was like so much cooler. And now it's like you got to wear your suit coat or your tuxedo pants or whatever, and you're underneath it.
Yeah.
And you're cooking. I mean, it's like, where's the air conditioning?
Right.
Then you have a speaking part, and you briefly forget how uncomfortable you are because you're distracted, and then the degree moves on. You're standing there like, oh my God, it's back. It's depressive.
Yeah.
So you're big into the Scottish Rite. Outside the ritual work, what else do you like about the Scottish Rite?
The education part of it is a big part of it. You get to learn more ways to be a better Mason, right? So I think it's just more of our core philosophy amplified. So you get to go through and use the tenets of the craft and expand upon them and learn more. I mean, that's the fun of it. So.
It does look cool that they have such big education resources too. Is one thing that I keep hearing about that sounds cool. That how the grand jurisdictions have such like good, well-written education, like portals and courses that people can take. Sounds cool too.
I haven't really explored that part of it, but I've heard the Southern Masonic jurisdiction has a very intense like college-type program, and I know we have something similar in the Northern Scottish Rite. They call the Haughts Academy. I haven't got a chance to really do any research into that, but that's supposed to be like a master's program also.
Can you imagine? You're like, I have a master's in masonry.
I already have my Master Mason degree.
Yeah, I don't need to do anything else.
Right.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming in for a quick interview and sitting down in this balmy foyer with us.
It's really warm out here. I feel like it's cooler in the lodge room. That doesn't make sense.
I'm going over there because it's much cooler in the auditorium right now.
It's usually how it doesn't work, but,
Right?
So.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
We'll see you guys around the district.
Yep.
We'll
Thanks,
Jeremy. Great work.
We'll see you around at hospitality probably too.
All right, we got another guest with us. It's a familiar voice if you listened to last year's annual communication episodes. We have worshipful brother Max Skinador with us. I think I said your last name right.
Perfect.
All right, perfect, good. I'm still with this dental thing. Sometimes saying stuff is hard.
Hey, no worries. Now, if I challenge you to spell it, and if you could get that right, that would be a miracle.
Can I use the Facebook cheat?
What are we trying to spell?
That would be effective.
His last name.
Skenendor.
Skenandore.
I forgot I wore the name badge.
Got him.
See, Andrew's the clever one.
Well, I couldn't see it from here, so.
That's fair.
Besides missing a few teeth, having implants, being half deaf, my eyesight also sucks. So I'm just falling apart over here. Don't get old.
I don't know if I'll have a choice, but I'll take the advice.
I'll try.
My eye doctor told me when I turned 40 that I would probably start noticing that I was going to need bifocals. At 42, I got progressive lenses. So he was almost dead on.
That's pretty spot on. That's a pretty good eye doctor you get.
Optometrist.
Right. Yeah. Busting out the big words. You just
optometrist.
Maybe I'm gonna baby bird you later instead.
Don't threaten me with a good time. So you've been in, how many years have you been a Mason now?
Going on 6.
6 years. What keeps you in Masonry?
The brotherhood. Also knowing that a lot of the work that I do to help people, it's effective and life-changing, and it's part of what makes me feel solid in the world and purpose. Besides, of course, and I'm sure you can sympathize, my daughter, who is just the other light of my world.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what keeps me, is the work that doesn't feel like work.
And they are till they turn 3, and then good luck with your three-nager.
Thanks for the heads up.
Then they're the light of your world one moment and the bane of your existence the next.
My niece is 5, and so I sympathize with my older sibling on that.
I still love her, but Sometimes, man. And she's stubborn like her old man, which is...
I couldn't have guessed where she would have gotten that from.
Well, yeah, no, she got it from me, 100%. Which means even at 3 years old, her and I butt heads because she gets stubborn and then I get stubborn and yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank goodness you have your beautiful wife over there to help mediate.
Right, yeah. She's just kind of like, nope, I'm out. You two got to work this out. You got another 15 years of going through this.
Minimum.
Yeah.
What would you say, how would you describe the culture of your lodge?
So with my Mother Lodge, we've had a dramatic cultural shift from one of an old guard that had kind of lost faith in itself and kind of was ready for Freemasonry to just kind of slide off and eventually, and mainly over the course of these guys having gone through and seen the progressive decrease in membership numbers from the 90s and early 2000s to a really vibrant and active lodge that is very interested in perpetuating Masonic culture, doing events, and just being a forward step in Masonry, and it's been fantastic to see that revitalization.
How has the old guard felt about it? Are they still there, and has it inspired them?
Yeah, a lot of them definitely have gotten a renewed vigor and interest in it. They have been fantastic mentors and teachers, and being able to work with members who have been in for 40 years and then guys like me who have been in for 5 has been just a huge learning experience on both of our parts, especially because I'm in my 20s, and so that brings another very interesting dynamic, is a difference in age.
It must be pretty cool to have been an old man who is basically got depressed, being like, this is just not going to be enough, to see it turn around. You know how exciting that probably was to be like,
absolutely,
to remember what they originally loved about it back when they first joined is probably life-changing for them to have that reinvigorated.
And yeah, I've had those exact conversations, and it's been amazing. A couple of the guys who were in there when I first joined have since passed, and so also being able to carry on their legacy has been another really touching part of being a part of Freemasonry.
Awesome.
Well, Max, thanks for coming on and joining us again for a quick interview.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And yeah, we'll see you around AC, and we'll see you we'll see you all over the place. We
always see you.
I get around here.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we have another special guest coming along. Brother, can you please introduce yourself for us?
Hey, everybody. I'm Matthew Ginther of Crandon Lodge 287. Relatively new Master Mason in the last 6 months.
Awesome. We've had a couple of greenhorns on, so don't even worry about it.
Right.
What brought you to Masonry?
A lot of things.
Okay.
Camaraderie, some esotericism.
Sure.
Been on a spiritual journey most of my life. Mostly the camaraderie. Like, for example, my father was a district governor of the Lions Club when I was growing up.
Okay.
And the problem with the Lions Club, and I'm not putting them down, they do great work, but it is a lot of retirement age men.
Right.
And Masonry's not, right?
It is, well, there's some. There's definitely some, but there are more people near my age.
There's a bigger mix in
And my age is
Freemasonry.
34.
Yeah, I'm 33, so I get it.
So, yeah, understandable.
Mm-hmm. So you liked how your father had an organization, though, to be a part of, to hang out with people and do stuff.
Yes,
you found
and help
Masonry.
people and-
What was your experience like going through the degrees? Did anything, without spoiling ritual or anything, does any part of our lesson stick out to you?
I think one of the biggest things that I had taken away was being a man of your word. And some of the quote-unquote secrets you are given seem to me to be mostly a test of you keeping your word and not revealing things.
In the past, it definitely was for security purposes, but now it's 100% what you're saying.
Yeah.
Can you be taken at your word?
Yep. So there's more, but that'd probably be one of the key things I took away from it. I was impressed by the level of memorization involved in the Master Mason degree.
Oh, yeah.
And when they had performed mine, maybe one time somebody needed a whisper in the ear.
Yeah.
But I could tell even then that it was a roadmap to a sort of therapy in many men, from speaking work, memory work, organizational work, so on and so forth.
Right. And brotherhood.
So it's so it was always kind of enticing. And the more you go, the more it gets better, in my opinion.
Yep. And, we always say the cliche in Masonry, you get in, what am I trying to say? You get it from Masonry.
You get out of it what you put into it.
And you
Yep.
do.
Yeah.
You heavily do. I was told that in the beginning as well, and I wasn't sure exactly how to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But you almost get more back than you do put in
Yeah,
my opinion.
I would agree.
But you do have to put in.
Yeah.
But you definitely get, I think, at least twice back.
You get to craft your experience, right?
Yes.
And if you just don't do anything and then you're like, God, Masonry sucks, you're like, what have you done? Have you made friends? Are you talking to people? Are you doing stuff? Do you have ideas? Like, what do you want from this? Are you trying to do charity? What do you want?
Yeah,
And if
you can
don't
see
know
what
you-
it is on a face level.
Yep.
And you need to show up for what it is. If you want brothers, you need to talk to them. You
Right.
need to come to events.
Yep.
You know, I just drove 4 hours away to come to this event. I've met several people, you guys, for the first time.
Right.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm seeing great things.
Mason Fest.
But you have to do it.
Yep.
Right.
You have to put in the time and the effort.
And if you do, I feel a lot of people might shy away from Masonry thinking that it is a lot of work and time. When you're in it, it does not feel that way because you are being rewarded every step of the way.
Right.
You're having a good time. So driving to Madison turned into carpooling with people and getting to know them.
A road trip.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turned into a hotel room
Right.
that was relatively fancy that I paid nothing for.
Right.
Yep.
And hanging out in the governor's lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Having a good time, watching a couple of people I know show a side of themselves that you just don't
seen
see in
before,
lodging.
yeah.
And yeah, so you definitely, you have to put in some effort, but it feels much more effortless than you would think it would be.
And the more effort you put in, the more effortless it gets because you build the support system that you need to accomplish what you're trying to do. And you know who to talk to, who to call. You have mentors, friends. So instead of you reinventing the wheel, you know who to call and be like, I have this idea. I really think this would be cool and it would work well. You know who to talk to. And you can find these people quickly and they'll help you, which makes the work even easier. But you're still building up each other, which is one of the powerful parts of being a builder.
One of the most powerful things in Masonry is networking. As long as you can recognize that everybody around you does something different.
Yep.
And they're all here to help you. That's not to say that you should abuse that.
Right.
But it's there for you.
Right.
So
Well-
if you're being a reasonable person, you
Yeah.
have a lot of avenues.
Right.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, there's always support there for you, or wisdom and advice, and or even just an ear that you can just scream into if you need to, and they just won't say anything because they don't need to. You just need to, there's always a brother there that's willing to help you out. So, and that is great. So this is obviously your first time at annual communication. What has been the most enlightening part of annual communication for you? Has it been the fellowship? Has it been some of the business we handled in the meeting? Or just what's been like the biggest eye-opener?
Well, seeing in which way we vote for things, I would say I am new to just about everything you're looking at. I come from a small town, Crandon. We have 30 members and I would say maybe 10 active members.
Right.
So coming to Madison and seeing hundreds of men, that's pretty enlightening. It feels different than Crandon. Crandon feels good, but it being here makes it feel much more vital.
And big.
And yeah, does that make sense?
No, yeah, I feel the same way, is that you can get in a silo on occasion in Masonry if you don't travel very much and you're hanging out with the same boys. But when you come to things like big events or Grand Lodge especially, you go, wow.
Yes.
Look at this.
And you kind of see the beef of it all.
When you see everyone doing the grand honors, those claps all in unison, you're like, whoa, look at all this.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yep. And it's Brother Fest. You just go talk with brothers from all over. And you're like,
Yes.
nice. And you might meet some people from out of state who are visiting and all this stuff. And you're just like, whoa.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit mesmerizing.
Oh, yeah.
That might be the word.
That's a good word for it. Yeah, I like that.
Mesmerizing, enlightening. Yeah, it's
All right.
awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by and hopping on a microphone. Appreciate it. So,
Appreciate you guys.
Heck yeah.
Thank you. Have a good one. We'll see you around.
We got another special guest coming on. Brother, please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what got you into Masonry.
Well, got me into Masonry is a bit tricky. My name is William Jasper McKay. I'm currently the Grand Chaplain for Cryptic Masons of Wisconsin. I actually got into Masonry because I wanted to know more about Scottish Rite.
That you're in the Cryptic Council?
Yeah. Ironically, I'm not a member of Scottish Rite, but I did end up Grand Chaplain of Council in no time flat.
Winding roads, the winding stairs that you end up on.
Yeah.
So once you got into Masonry, what keeps you in Masonry?
The people. It really is that simple. I mean, As chaplain, I have an interesting set of duties, and that's to remind people of our moral obligation, which does great until you tell somebody something they don't want to hear.
Okay.
But they always come back and they sit down and they have real heartfelt conversations, and you can see how those little interactions, those little moments, just really change somebody's perspective on life, and I love that.
Well, and the career you're in lends itself to that role a little bit.
Sort of. Being a reverend, it does help, but doing suicide intervention ministry, it's kind of a catch-22.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I've had occasions where the two collide, but for the most part, being a reverend really does kind of give me the ability to speak perspective to people who may not see things the way others might.
Right.
So how do you think Masonry has affected you personally?
I came from a rough life. Masonry has really given me a solid foundation for that moral guidance that I needed when I was having a hard time in life. I can't even say I was the best guy when I became a Mason, but between my brothers and the ladies and all the events that I've been through, my character has changed so much to somebody who actually cares about humanity.
I mean, that's a huge what I'm looking for.
What word are
recommendation.
you looking for?
That's a huge thing to be like. It made me love humans again. Right. you're like, yeah.
Like I told you before, my brain is already fried today, so I'm not going to be helping you find a word.
So within Masonry, and you ended up in Cryptic. What drew you to the Cryptic Council?
It was the missing portion of the 3 main degrees. We get a pretty thorough set of degrees when we go through and become a Master Mason, but going through chapter and council and learning what was in the gaps and, the source of the lost word and all those kinds of things really, it completed the story for me. It gave me a whole picture instead of just a piece here and a piece there.
What's been going on in Cryptic Council? Are you guys going to be doing the Royal Select Master? Or the super excellent super excellent, awesome, radical master guy degree?
We do. And the dates, I know it's the 18th, but I don't remember if it's this month or next month. Forgive me.
Okay.
But we are doing the super excellent master degree in Green Bay, if I remember.
Month is it? Next month, you said?
Next month or this month. All the information should be up on the website.
I think I got an email about it.
Yeah.
But to our listeners, if you're interested in your Cryptic Mason, Wisconsin, the degree doesn't come around all that often, so check it out. Yeah.
And like I said,
it requires like a 50-person cast or 26 people or something.
It's a ridiculous number of people on the cast. I mean, and if I remember correctly, they're going through all the degrees, not just super excellent master.
Oh, jeez.
So they'll do kind of a day of light for Cryptic Masonry, and they'll get brothers in, and they'll get that filler of that lost word, and kind of the accumulation of the knowledge that we got as Master Masons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got to give it in the presence of 3. Yeah, I want to go to it. I've been kind of keeping tabs on it with Mike Clinton to see what's going on with it, so I want to see it.
Cool. I can get you guys a petition. I mean,
we're both Cryptic Masons. Yeah. Can't you tell we're cryptic? We like crypts.
Been there, done that. Have that T-shirt.
You're living that cryptic life. You're keeping it all a secret.
Right, yeah.
Just picked up a chapter one. Have you seen these yet?
Yeah, I picked one up at annual assembly.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, they really are.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Will, for coming on and joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Nice quick hitter, and I'll see you around here today.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up our annual communication interviews. So that was a lot. Man, I like coming up to Madison.
I've had a lot of fun. Maybe too much. Some might say too much. I haven't got a lot of sleep. I don't have any regrets. Well, I regret the sleep part, but mostly not. But like 60% of me regrets not going to bed earlier. But it's
no
hard
rest for the wicked, brother.
It's hard when the fellowship is flowing and you're talking with so many cool people. You just sometimes get caught up, and then you just go, "Man, tomorrow's gonna hurt me bad." But it's been awesome talking with all these cool brothers, and it's been a very fun year. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Teddy Wedgers, for the pasties, our unofficial sponsor for the weekend.
I would love if they became an actual sponsor. That would be great.
That'd be so funny. Every episode, you're like, and anyways, get your pasties. Super good.
Those were so good, though. if you are in Madison, Wisconsin, and you have a hankering for a pasty, go to Teddy Wedgers.
Go to Teddy Wedgers and give them our discount code, which is Fellowship So Fun, and they will look at you confused.
Absolutely confused. They'll be like, what?
They'll charge you more.
Right? They'll double it. I would also recommend, if you're an adventurous eater, to get 2 different halves instead of 1 whole.
Yeah, the whole is 2 meals, and the half is definitely 1 meal. I mean, we ate 2, but 2's a lot.
Right.
But you might as well get 2 halves of 2 different ones. And the spicy traditional, very
good. I feel like there's just jardinera in it, like hot jardinera.
Yeah, it's just a regular pasty with jardinera in it. Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, that was so good.
But we're going down a pasty hole. But
We are.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you to all of our listeners who came by. And if you didn't hop on a mic, all the ones who just came by and visited us too, and came and just chatted, talked about the podcast. It was just awesome. It was so much fun.
It was a ton of fun, and it was very great meeting everybody we did. And I hope you all enjoyed these episodes, and we got some more fun stuff coming for you.
Yeah, the nice thing about AC is it refills our idea book because we meet so many people that our list has never been fuller. Interesting guests that we could invite on and interesting topics. The nice thing about AC is it can recharge your Mason battery and get you excited again to, talk about Masonry and do Mason stuff just because you meet so many cool and interesting people.
For sure. 100% agree with that sentiment.
Cool. Well, to our listeners, please check us out on social media. Make sure you like our episodes or subscribe to them. It goes a long way. Leave reviews. And if you're interested, you can come join us on our Discord, and you can find information in the show notes.
And if you have anything you want to reach out to us about, you can always message us on Facebook or email us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Have a great day.